Welcome. Thank you all for coming. Before we get started, I just want to say that we want to acknowledge that this event that we're hosting at the University of Waterloo is situated on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. And we'd like to acknowledge that the University of Waterloo, including the Waterloo, Kitchener, and Cambridge campuses, is situated on the Haldimand Tract, which is land that was promised to the Haudenosaunee of the Six Nations of the Grand River. All right, hello, welcome. I'm Kayliana Giesinger. I am the campus director. Myself and Rupa Reddy over here have been planning the Hult Prize on-campus events that have been taking place this term. This is the finals for the Hult Prize events, and we've had 4 events this term. We had the kickoff, then we had quarterfinals, mentoring, semifinals, and finals. So that's 5. That's me counting. So myself and Rupa throughout the whole night, we will be emceeing, so it won't be weird if she comes up and talks because we planned that. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what Hult Prize is, it's a social impact entrepreneurship competition with the main goal being that getting young people involved in the space of entrepreneurship and what social entrepreneurship looks like and how can young people be involved in creating the change that to a lot of the challenges that are being faced on the planet today. And it's a global program. There are events all over the world happening right now at a bunch of different universities. Then in the springtime, there will be 25 different regionals all over the world. And then of those regionals, there's going to be winners and finalists who will move on to the incubator, which will be in Boston throughout the summer. And then 6 of those teams will move on to the UN finals, which are going to be in September of 2020. And it will be for the $1 million, so it'll be very exciting. Waterloo has been involved with Hult Prize for 4 years, and we've actually had 2 teams make it all the way to the global finals, and we've had a lot of teams go to regionals. So at the on-campus round, we have the winners who will be guaranteed a spot in regionals, but any of the other competitors can apply for regionals and they can move on. So this is not the end for like the Hult Prize journey for a lot of the teams. It doesn't have to be. They can keep going and apply for regionals. Yeah. We're really excited though about the level of involvement and the quality of teams that we've had this year. We've had 35 teams apply for quarterfinals, 28 of those teams went to semifinals, and now we have 8 teams here today. We're really excited about the teams. They're really good. We have a lot of teams representing across all different faculties, some in master's, some in undergraduate courses. And it's really exciting, the quality and the ideas that they have come up with this space. And the topic for this year is building businesses that have a positive impact on the environment with every dollar earned. So it's a really big topic, but they've done a really incredible job at tackling it from a lot of different approaches. We also want to acknowledge that we had a lot of support from a lot of groups across campus with our various events. We've had people from the School of Environment, Enterprise and Development, Greenhouse, Concept by Velocity, Environment and Business, and the Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business. They've been helping out in various ways, whether it's advertising, being judges, being mentors, just being supportive in any way. They've been really awesome. I feel really lucky to be working with a lot of incredible people this term. Yeah, they've helped out a lot. And also to the rest of you who are friends, families of the teams, those who have been mentors and are here tonight, we're really grateful for you to be here. We hope that you have a really great time this evening. We also want to extend a big thank you to the Trevor Eaton Chair, who has provided all sponsorship for all of the Hult Prize events, and none of the events would be possible without the Trevor Eaton Chair. They also are going to provide sponsorship for the winning team for their travel to regionals, which is very exciting as well. Additionally, we would like to thank the Electrical Contacts Limited because they are sponsoring the top 3 winning teams with cash prizes. So for first prize, you get $3,000, and second and third prize, you get $2,500, and this will go towards research and development of their team. So we have Tammy, Erica, and Doug from ECL here tonight, and we'd like to thank them for coming. With that in mind, we now would like to welcome our judges. Our first judge is Brock Dickinson. He is an adjunct professor and entrepreneur in residence with the University of Waterloo. In his role, he works with student and faculty to launch new entrepreneurial ventures and commercialize emerging research to support the development of new incubation and business acceleration facilities and to coordinate university links with United Nations and development issues. So Brock has spent 6 years as a consultant with the United Nations, coordinating development projects in more than 30 different countries. In 1995, he was appointed Secretary General of the UN Development Conference and the youngest Secretary General in UN history. Brock was previously the Chief Executive Officer of MD8 Insight. In September of 2010, the company was named Profit Magazine's Hot 50 list of Canada's fastest growing young companies. So welcome, Brock. Our next judge is Paninda. She has an unwavering desire to create sustainable and resilient communities, and he's always guided her work through, she's done a bunch of work through sustainable consultation at the Delphi Group, which is one of the largest leading sustainability and climate change consulting firms, where they help to transition towards a low carbon economy. Previous to joining the Delphi Group, she was the manager of sustainable investment at the Bentel Green Oak, which is a global real estate investment management advisor. She managed environmental and social governance risks and disclosures across the company's real estate portfolio. Her passion for climate extends into her commitment to volunteerism. Most notably, she has participated at the United Nations Climate Change Conferences COP19 and COP24, where she played a key role in advancing meaningful youth engagement dialogue in the global climate policy process. She holds a Bachelor's of Environment and Business from the University of Waterloo, and she's active in local community as a World Economic Forum Global Shaper, and she is an associate for the Youth Climate Lab. She has been recognized as Canada's top 30 under 30 sustainability leaders and as one of the top 25 under 25 environmentalists in Canada, and she's most recently been recognized as a Clean 50 honoree for her contributions to the advancement of climate action. So welcome. We also have Adrian Conrad here tonight as a judge. He's a local developer. He's a local developer with global recognition for sustainable building. He is partnered with Canadian Research Technology Parks, and his work has been with the Core Group through building projects like the University of Waterloo Accelerator Centre and Canada's first design certified building for being carbon neutral and actually producing more energy than it takes in. So it puts energy back on the grid, which is the first in Canada ever, and that's called Evolve 1. It's very exciting. If you ever want to see it, it's over in the research park. They do tours sometimes. He is passionate about preserving our environment for future generations and strong proponent of LEED and sustainable development. The Cora Group's portfolio of sustainable properties located in the David Johnson Research and Technology Park and the Waterloo's Idea Corridor are among the region's most prestigious Class A office locations. The Conrads are proud supportive members of the Kitchener-Waterloo community and its educational institutions, founding the Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business. So welcome. Our final judge is Jen Novakovic. She is a passionate science communicator, environmentalist, and cosmetic chemist. She's the founder of the EcoWell as well as the EcoMarket KW. She has 2 Bachelor's of Science honors degrees from the University of Guelph and has completed her graduate studies in cosmetic chemistry. Jen works with brands to develop cosmetic formulations for the market, travels internationally to speak about sustainable development within the personal care space, and runs her own free-to-listen science podcast, the EcoWell Podcast. She also runs her own local conferences, pitch competitions, and networking events through the EcoMarket KW. So welcome, Jen. Okay, so here's a little bit of how tonight's going to go down. So we have our 8 teams, and the first half of the teams are going to pitch, and then we'll have a break, and then the second half. So these are the 4 teams that will be pitching first. If you're not already there, please make sure if you're a team, you're in the reserved area just so that the transitions go smoothly. Each of the teams are going to have 5 minutes to pitch. At the 4.5-minute mark, Rupa and I are going to be sitting over here, and we're going to hold up the 30-second sign, so you've been warned that you only have 30 seconds left, and we will have to cut you off at 5 minutes. Then there will be 4 minutes for Q&A with the judges. Then the judges will have time to deliberate for the winner. There'll be about a 20-minute break after all the teams have pitched, and then the judges will talk amongst themselves, and then they'll come out and we will announce the winners. So now the moment you've all been waiting for, we're going to welcome She Cycle to the stage for their pitch.
In our increasingly disposable society, reusable goods are being replaced by cheaper items designed for a short lifespan and ease of use. And it's exactly the same with periods. Each person who menstruates uses 5,000 to 15,000 menstrual products in their lifetime, each of which takes up to 800 years to biodegrade, if at all. But these products were developed for a reason. Disposables are sanitary. Using traditional menstrual hygiene methods such as rags is difficult, and if you do it wrong, you'll end up with an infection. Unfortunately, these infections are a reality for a lot of women in Uganda. 70% of these women are using things like rags, dried leaves, and mattress foam instead of pads and tampons. This leads to infections that are not only health risks, but keep women away from work and school, contributing to gender inequality and the cycle of poverty. Organizations are combating this problem by distributing reusable pads, but cultural stigma is getting in the way of girls using them properly. 98% of these pads are being dried improperly, leaving them damp and still susceptible to bacterial growth, cycle after cycle. It's no surprise then that women who use these pads are twice as likely to get an infection compared to those who use disposables. But disposables aren't the answer. They have a myriad of environmental effects in addition to simply being unaffordable.
Our solution is a reusable menstrual pad that is just as safe as disposables, but without the environmental impact. She Cycle pads are made of a cotton fabric bonded with an antimicrobial coating made up of silica and complex salts. This is a proven technology used by a nonprofit in Southeast Asia, and it is shown to last for well beyond a year. We believe that the best approach to a reusable pad is a combination of local materials, education, and an antimicrobial technology that is all made possible through our interdisciplinary approach in international development, health studies, and business. Through the use of local and sustainable resources, we've estimated that the cost for one She Cycle pad to be produced and distributed is 53 cents. To be on par with local competition market prices, we can sell these pads in markets for 75 cents each, producing a 22-cent profit. These profits will be reinvested into the company for further growth, as She Cycle is a social enterprise. The cost for women and girls to buy She Cycle pads for an entire year is $3, which is 3 to 4 times more affordable than buying disposable pads month after month. With only 30% of the women in Uganda currently using disposable products, we estimate our potential market size to be 15 million women to start. Thanks to funding from the World's Challenge Pitch Competition back in June, we have started prototyping our product in concept science labs by Velocity in partnership with the nanotechnology engineering team.
We plan to partner with Cotton Made in Africa to source Ugandan cotton, as well as Women for Women, who will help us identify local female entrepreneurs, while local educators distribute girls' first rounds of pads in schools. We already have a confirmed partnership with Golden Hill Academy in Matoto, Uganda. As seen with the Mosquito Net project, interventions are far more effective when there's a sense of ownership by having paid a subsidized rate. For that reason, when the pads need replacing, women will be able to go to their local vendors and purchase them from there. This ensures the product is properly cared for and allows us to be financially sustainable for women in the long term. While the main purpose of She Cycle is to help women in Uganda, we understand there are many applications for this technology, as well as a need for us to sustain ourselves in the long term. For that reason, we are currently developing our business model to include a for-profit portion. This portion will focus on the waste reduction capabilities that our product offers. Our project closely aligns with Sustainable Development Goals 3, 4, 5, and 6 by improving sanitation, raising the level of healthcare, and enabling girls to reach the same level of education and care as that of their male peers. Additionally, by the waste reduction capabilities that our product offers, we're helping to achieve goal number 12. We anticipate a 70% decrease in the number of urinary tract infections as a result of using our pad, and a subsequent 24% decrease in school absenteeism among girls. Additionally, we anticipate a 98% decrease in the number of products used as compared to disposables.
We recognize that there's an environmental stake in how we solve this problem. So it's time for a solution that's not developed for us, but for these girls and their planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cycle. Great, so now we will open it up for Q&A. We'll have 4 minutes, so we can start at either end. Jen, would you like to begin?
Sure. Great job. I really enjoyed your presentation. Right towards the end, you guys mentioned a for-profit component. Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. So we're currently working with Concept Science, and so the concept mentorship and developing what that might look like. Some of the alternatives that we've looked into is either working with refugee camps, because there's a number of cost-saving capabilities that our product offers there. Another one is something even working in gyms in North American markets, just to ensure there's better sanitation, because I'm sure we're all familiar with the issues there. Or in the zero waste movement, which has grown in popularity in North American markets, there may be a developing market for this product in North America, and we just need to do more testing to ensure that that's the capabilities there.
Thank you. Adrian?
Great presentation. You talked a little bit about partnering for product development. Can you talk a little bit more about where you are with that?
So we've partnered with a fourth-year design project team that's in nanotech engineering. So currently we're at early stages, so they are going to deliver their proposal to us for how they will be doing the project development throughout their process. They've actually agreed to begin work on their project earlier than their FYDP timeline. So we're very excited about that. Due to renovations in Concept Science, we actually don't get any lab space until January. We were hoping to start in the fall, but we're in the planning stages of actually being able to be in the lab and testing. And we have a fabric prototype.
Thank you. Puninda.
Great job, everyone. Could you talk a little bit more about the potential for scalability? I know you mentioned the Uganda market, but if you could expand a little bit on that, that would be great.
Sorry, just to clarify, some of the audience members may not have heard that. It was about the potential for scalability. Sorry, the mics we need to. Thank you.
Because the issue that we're mainly combating is menstrual stigma, it's a widespread issue even in developed countries. But in developing countries in particular, there's a large disease burden and social burden associated with stigma that is against menstruation. And so because it's tied to sanitation, essentially any place that has sanitation issues in conjunction with menstrual stigma could definitely benefit from the combination of this technology and the educational components and the actual menstrual pad. The key with that is that whenever we go into a place, we need to make sure that we're adjusting for the actual context there. So in terms of scalability, we'd like to start in Uganda and kind of prototype a launching process. We're working with one school right now to work with them to figure out what it might look like to expand this to other schools, because we want to make sure that it's very in tune with the local culture and the infrastructure that's in place there. But potentially we would love to expand to other African countries and other places in the global south that have similar problems, because it is a pretty similar, it has a similar kind of prevalence in other countries.
Okay, Brock. If you can, sorry, I know the mic is a bit awkward, but
Maybe just briefly, sort of building on the same idea. I mean, part of the competition is around reaching that million consumer level. So what are some of the ideas or steps to take you from that starting point of one school to a million consumers out of that potential market in Uganda, 15 million that you described?
So part of the reason that we've chosen Uganda, in addition to Anna's experience in Uganda, was that the political climate there is really conducive, I believe is the correct term, for health startups to begin there. And so what we what the plan would be to partner with the government and the existing healthcare systems, which both Anna has communications with and I have communications with a health startup in Swaziland for down the road when we expand further, and it would be through there that we reach the 1 million in Uganda originally.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you, She Cycle.
Good evening. We're SortRight, and we intend to revolutionize the waste management industry by transforming the way that recycling is handled at the consumer level. Here's why we're doing this. In Canada, out of the 3.2 million tons of plastic waste we produce annually, we're only recycling 9%. That's approximately the weight of 24 CN Towers that's sent to the landfills. And this happens for predominantly two reasons. One, we simply are not recycling enough. And two, even when we do recycle, it's contaminated.
Quick example, have you ever been in a rush and have had to stand in front of one of these bins thinking, where am I supposed to throw my trash? Well, maybe your item seemed recyclable, so you threw it into the recycling bin. But this is what causes contamination. But what is contamination? It's when materials that don't belong in the recycling bin are thrown into there anyways. And this can range anywhere from non-recyclables to leftover food in containers. Furthermore, fighting contamination costs the City of Toronto up to $26 million each year. Currently, the responsibility of this problem lies with you. But it doesn't have to be this way, because we have a solution.
So our product is a state-of-the-art waste disposal bin, and we intend to leverage artificial intelligence to accurately detect waste as either garbage or recycling, and further sort that waste into its respective bins. By doing this, not only do we decrease the rate of contamination, but we also greatly increase the rate of recycling. All in all, our product intends to take away the tough decision of not knowing where to put your trash completely out of the user's hands. And by doing this, not only do we make the process more convenient, but also cleaner. So, how will this process work? Well, it starts off with a user disposing their waste into our product. The AI will then sort that waste as either garbage or recycling. The recycling will be further filtered to determine if it's contaminated. If it's not contaminated, it'll go straight into the regular recycling bin, whereas if it is contaminated, it'll go into a special bin along with all the other contaminated materials. So the social impact of our venture has direct effects in regards to human health, clean water sanitation, as well as the preservation of biodiversity, which are some of the Sustainable Development Goals highlighted by the UN. By increasing the rate of recycling, we are truly able to strive towards a more sustainable future.
So, as for our business model, we intend to target malls, universities, and food courts, as they have the highest levels of contamination and are generally high volume areas. After speaking with our contacts at Waste Management in Toronto, as well as sustainability here at UW, we have received validation of our problem. We learned that bags of recycling that surpass the 30% contamination rate are actually thrown away as garbage anyways, and don't even make it to the landfill anyways. In terms of revenue, we plan to sell our product at a one-time cost, and we believe that we can manufacture our product for $500. For reference, UW already pays up to $1,500 for a traditional bin. We realize that Toronto is a lofty goal, and that's why we'd like to pilot our product on a smaller scale first. In fact, we've received the green light to test here at UW to validate our product and its abilities. But ultimately, we'd like to tackle the North American market by leveraging existing distributors, who have the know-how and existing infrastructure to sell our product on the global stage.
The fact that other startups have also began working on this problem proves its importance to us. However, none focus on the issue of contamination as much as we do. Let's take a look at our roadmap. Since the semis, we've recruited 2 advisors and established a relationship with the University of Waterloo. Moving forward, we want to begin building our proof of concept. This will involve training our AI, iterating on hardware bin designs, and ultimately testing and validating our product here at UW. By the Hult Regionals, we intend to showcase our MVP to demonstrate firsthand the value that we will be providing with our product.
Our two advisors come from the City of Toronto Waste Management and the Sustainability Department here at University of Waterloo. Both have given us positive feedback as well as amazing insights into the market. As for our team, we're capable. We're a group of diverse skill sets with domain expertise in the exact fields that we believe are integral in realizing this vision. That's software, hardware, and business fundamentals. On top of that, we're passionate, driven, and truly believe that this problem is one of few where cutting-edge technology can go hand in hand in helping the environment and delivering on social impact. We're SortRight, and investing in us is not just investing in a product, in a solution that is convenient, but one that is sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Team SortRight. Okay, let's begin the Q&A, perhaps on this end of the table this time. Brock, would you like to begin?
It seems the core of the product is the AI application, which I guess begs a question that I'll leave hanging for a moment around why selling the product versus a sort of software as a service model or something like that as your revenue stream. But specifically in the context of the AI, I'm curious about the kind of the sorting of the contaminated recyclables. You made it clear that it can kind of differentiate and separate those out within the system, but then what happens to those contaminated recyclables? Do they become part of that above 30% rate that still continues into the waste stream, or are you able to deal with those separately?
So what we intend to do is basically have a separate bin just for the contaminated materials. I'm going to let waste management decide what they want to do next with it. So they have the option to either clean that out and then send that to recycling, or if they don't have the capability to do that, they can just send that straight to the landfill. But basically by separating into a special bin, we're keeping that recyclable below that 30% threshold.
Puninda.
My question is sort of building off of that one. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to potential partnerships. I know you mentioned your advisor is based in the City of Toronto, but there are many players in the waste management industries. If you could expand on that partnership piece, that would be great.
So initially, we're thinking of selling to Waste Management Canada in the City of Toronto. Then we realized that they don't really sell the bins, they just collect the garbage. And as such, in terms of developing our AI, I believe they would be the perfect partnership to pursue, as image recognition and artificial intelligence requires lots and lots of data, and they have lots and lots of garbage and recycling. On top of that, we are also pursuing partnerships with external distributors. One that comes to mind is Clean River, which already sells many products in regards to recycling and other solutions. And they have a widespread network, and we believe that leveraging their connections would help us out a lot.
So definitely a problem I can relate to. You mentioned a $500 selling per unit, and then Brock's comment around licensing. So could you talk a little bit more around how you intend to make profit off this, number one, and number two, have you given thought to the size of the containers? Because what I'm seeing this doing may be a lot different than a conventional container.
So in regards to the size of the bin, I feel that eventually after we create our pilot product, we could totally scale that. As I believe Brock mentioned, the crux of our solution is the AI. And the reason that we're also taking it upon ourselves is that we could provide the solutions in terms of different sizes and almost make it universal. So instead of selling our AI and having everyone have different products of the same thing, we could sell our product, I believe, which would give us a bigger chunk of the market, as well as give us more flexibility in making sure that the solution quality is high and truly delivers on the promise that we're making.
And as for the profit portion of this, I think the fact that we could manufacture our product for a lower price and aim to either price match or provide a price that's maybe slightly higher than existing products will help us to sell it, because the true goal of our product is to reduce the total amount of garbage output of a given institution, and by doing that we are actually reducing the amount of money that they pay to waste management in the end. So this is a reoccurring saving for them. So even if we do have a higher price, we will still be saving the money in the long run.
That's all the time we have for Q&A. Sorry, Jen. Thank you for the questions, and thank you, Team SortRight.
Team EcoWare? Meet baby Alexander. By the time he's 3.5 years old and potty trained, he will go through over 4,000 disposable diapers. And I know some of you are sitting here thinking, that little cutie, 4,000 diapers? And I'm here to say that little cutie is starting off with a huge carbon footprint. And that is the problem we're here to solve today. Over 20 billion diapers will end up in the landfill in North America. On average, it takes about 500 years for a diaper to decompose. And if we were to extract all of the diapers that are currently in landfills today, we would be able to go around this beautiful earth 94 times. If William Shakespeare had a diaper, there's a very high chance we will be able to find it in a landfill today. So, why us? Our team is diverse. We have material expertise, we have research expertise, I've got some expertise in marketing and firsthand changing diapers. We also have an amazing mentor who's passionate about design. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined together by a common thread of solving this problem today.
So like Natoya talked about, I'll give you an overview of the diaper cycle, right? So baby Alexander is obviously cute and he's going to go through 4,000 diapers. Now what does it cost, right? So it costs about 2,000 pints of crude oil that goes into making this 4,000 diapers, 715 pounds of plastic for the liner in the diaper, 4.5 trees for the pulp that makes the absorbent part of the diaper. Now that goes into the manufacturing, you have the finished goods, it's sold in your commercial retail or e-commerce. The parent or caregiver buys the diaper, it's used one time, it's trashed, and it shows up in a landfill. So what's our proposed solution? So we want it to be 100% degradable and compostable. It's also a healthier alternative for kids or babies who are hypoallergenic, and of course it's going to be eco-friendly. So based on the image, there are 4 basic components of a diaper. You have the outside and inside shell. We're looking at the plant-based alternatives like hemp/cotton blend. We also have the absorbent material, and we intend to partner with EcoWare Renewables. They actually have an absorbent material that is actually 100% degradable. It's a startup company which is a spin-off of University of Michigan from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And of course you have the protective plastic liner that I talked about, but there are plant alternatives like potato starch that's degradable, and we'll also look into some alternative strapping mechanisms. So how does this proposed solution tie into the impact? So our goal is to decrease the footprint by at least 50% compared to the regular one-time use diaper that's on the market now. And these are the 5 metrics we have from Cradle to Cradle, which is a globally recognized organization for safe and sustainable products.
So we're not looking to target the Pampers or the Huggies. They're focused primarily on the disposable diaper industry. We're looking to target with the Unicharms and the Andy Pandies of the world, the biodegradable alternatives. However, EcoWare is looking to address this market by satisfying all value propositions. We're looking to address absorption as our primary concern, then a comfortability, biodegradability, and of course, non-toxicity. Now, the global projected diaper market is projected to be about $78 billion by 2025. 3.5% or $2.7 billion is expected to be the projection for the eco-friendly alternatives or biodegradable diapers. Now we're looking to target the niche market that are individuals and families that are looking to prioritize their child's health, safety, with the consideration for the environmental impact, such as Alexander's mom here, Susan. Now, we're looking to target California and British Columbia first because they have the highest net income per capita. And we're looking to leverage the online communities, such as your forums or wherever parental communities are in those areas. And we're looking to distribute through the various channels, such as your subscription-based models, as well as your brick and mortar, like your Whole Foods. Now, we are looking to partner first with EcoWare, create a prototype, then by Q2, have a go-to-market solution. But we're not limited there. We're looking to expand in the future into the adult diaper industry, as well as in the female hygiene products. EcoWare's mission is to make the world more sustainable, one diaper at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, EcoWare. So we'll begin this Q&A session with Jen.
Great job, I love this idea. So I'm just curious, and I don't know anything really about diapers for the true compostability of your competitors, but do you have any metrics about that? Something that I'm aware is that a lot of the compostable plastic alternatives haven't actually collaborated with waste management systems, so they're not actually compostable. So how will you get around that?
I can speak a little bit to it. We didn't look at the metrics per brand, but it's based on the city municipalities. So Kitchener's waste actually is dealt with City of Waterloo, and they don't have the option. All diapers just go straight to landfill. But surprisingly, City of Toronto has a different municipality regulation. Even the regular Pampers and Huggies, though they're not degradable, are allowed to go into the green bin, but they're pre-treated. So they're actually washed and they're spun or centrifuged to separate the plastic from the cotton piece of it, and then the cotton side actually goes into the green bin. So it's based on municipalities right now, is the understanding we have when we reached out to them.
So, building on that comment, you were competing in a small segment of, or smaller segment of the larger market. How do you see yourselves capturing, 1 million customers or beyond?
Okay, so to talk on that, basically we're looking to address the market, as I mentioned, through the online communities, but we're looking to also consider and talk to the hospitals, give the firstborn parents or newly mothers an alternative that they can have straight from the childhood for their child, so they basically have a solution that's already readily available, that they know works, that can be carried on, because one of the big concerns that we did mention is actually hypoallergenic, and newborns tend to have very sensitive skin. So if we can address that right away, then we can know that they have a solution up front that will be safe for their child from the start, and eventually growing. Yeah.
Great presentation. I was wondering if you could speak to the profit maximization strategy and how you're pricing or anticipate pricing the product.
The price of the product? Okay. So for right now, the average price for disposable diapers is about 23 to 25 cents. Now, biodegradable alternative, why the market is so low right now is because we believe it's due to the fact that it's so expensive. So they can go from a premium of 35 cents right through to 90 cents per diaper. Now, not all families can afford that cost up front. They go to cotton, which is a premium up front, but we're looking to create a solution that is compostable and that can be used with the same convenience as a disposable at a lower cost, and we're looking to try to be around a 35-cent mark, so it's a little bit of a jump from the 25 average.
Amongst the organic materials that you were using in the creation of the individual diapers were hemp, cotton, and potato starch, all of which have sort of multiple uses. Have you looked at the opportunities around the utilization of plant materials that are either waste materials, or in the case of, say, the potato starch come from non-food sources in order to avoid kind of competition for existing resources with other industries?
So looking at the actual recycled material, my concern is if I were to have a child, which I don't right now, but if I were to, I would want something that hadn't been recycled or hadn't have to go through the same process and potentially contaminated, as others have mentioned, with plastic. So we don't know what we're doing with textile. So the proposed solution right now is actually a 5% hemp, 45% cotton blend, and that had the same properties that they're looking for, which is 100% oxy-tech, which ensures that there's that breathability for the child so they don't get those rashes. Now, the other thing to consider is the fact that hemp is quickly grown in comparison to the other alternative materials and less expensive to bamboo. So by turning into that material, we're not using bamboo as the alternative, we're significantly reducing cost, and then we're also considering potato starch, where we were fortunate enough to talk to some potential
Sorry, that's all the time we have for Q&A. Sorry, we ran a bit over, but I let it go for a bit.
Okay.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, Team EcoWare and judges, for your questions.
Hello, we are DCOM, and we're here today to decrease greenhouse gas emissions caused by plastic accumulation in landfill. Did you know that 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic has been produced since 1950? And out of this, 6.3 has become waste, with 79% accumulated in landfill. And it even gets worse for Canadian landfill, as China last year just closed its border to all international plastic waste. Previously, Canada used to export 50% of its plastic waste to China, which now will lead to a decline in the market of selling the recycled material, which definitely will lead to increase of plastic accumulation in landfill. And it will take 400 to 1,000 years to decompose. And as plastic sits in the sun, it will release harmful greenhouse gases, such as methane and ethylene.
So what is the current process for our plastic waste? We recently visited the Waterloo Waste Management Facility to see what happens when we throw out plastic. So currently, residential and industrial waste is collected and transported to a material recovery facility, or a MRF. These can be municipally run or privately run. This is where plastic is sorted and municipalities and industries are charged. After plastic is sorted, it is then sent out to either be sold as recyclables, to be incinerated, or to end up in a landfill. As with the border closing, more and more of our plastic is ending up in Canadian landfills. So how are we going to fix this? Through our research, we found that microbes are currently being used for commercial bioremediation in order to clean up oil spills and to degrade metal. So we looked at microbes in order to solve the plastic problem. This is where we found that several fungi species have the ability to degrade various forms of plastic. One species in particular is Aspergillus tubangensis. This is FDA approved and safe for human interaction. This fungi species also has the ability to grow on the surface of low-density plastic, where it secretes an enzyme that breaks down the complex chemical compounds of plastic molecules. So we will be using bioreactor technology to create the perfect environment for fungal growth. Fungus will be grown inside our bioreactor with a mixture of nutrient-rich agar. Plastic will be sorted and sterilized, shredded, and then fed into our bioreactor to be organically degraded. This process will take a matter of weeks as opposed to the 400 to 1,000 years it takes to naturally decompose.
So, remember our previous process on plastic waste? This is where DCOM fits in. We'll have our bioreactors at the MRFs, and through our business model, we'll not only be reducing the amount of plastic that sits in the landfills, but we'll also be reducing carbon emissions that come from transportation of plastic. How do we do this? We plan to do this by leasing our bioreactors to these MRFs, who would in turn charge municipalities and industries. Now, the incentives for MRFs is that they have an additional source of revenue, and for municipalities and industries, they have an environmental commitment to process plastic waste.
So how will we reach 1 million? Well, this is a global problem which we will tackle globally. But to start, we'll be focusing on Canada. In Canada alone, there are over 250 MRFs. Let's take a look at one of them, Miller Waste Systems. They serve 3 areas in Canada, serving 14 million people, who actually create 1.4 million tons of plastic waste per year. How exactly will we reduce greenhouse gas emissions? Well, Canadians produce over 720 megatons of greenhouse gases annually. 25 megatons of Canadian greenhouse gases come from waste. 15% of landfill waste is plastic, which provides us with the potential to reduce 3.7 megatons of carbon dioxide, which is the equivalent of reducing or removing 800,000 vehicles off of Canadian roads per year. So why us? Well, our strength is our diversity. Our team is comprised of 4 members with 4 completely different backgrounds. We have members who have specialized in engineering, finance, global development, and marketing. We also represent 4 different countries: Canada, Egypt, Ghana, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Our diversity empowers us to understand and tackle this issue from a variety of angles. Our team is also supplemented by a group of advisors, which includes Engineers Without Borders, as well as 3 experts in microbiology and biosystems engineering. Our next steps, including building a prototype with Engineers Without Borders, testing and evaluating different fungi and their byproducts, as well as continue to meet with MRFs and municipalities. We are Decomp, an organic plastic waste disposal solution to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Decomp. I can't remember where we ended last time. Did everybody have a chance to ask a question last time? Okay, great. So we can start, sure, with Brock.
I think we just found what to do with Sortrite's contaminated plastic waste, so a joint venture opportunity here.
Can partner.
I'm curious about the business model. You talked about leasing the equipment to companies like Miller. Companies like Miller are obviously very large, have fairly deep pockets. What's to prevent them from just sort of recognizing you've got this interesting technology and just investing in acquiring their own systems rather than leasing from you?
Okay, so what we're trying to do here is we want to bridge between the commercialization and the science aspect of the problem. So we're trying to work now with the expert and the microbiologist. So we're trying to somehow license this in future. So if we are able to commercialize and bridge between the science and the commercialization model, then we're able to build a stronger model.
Have you connected with waste management municipalities or whatever to make sure that they are actually ready to invest in this?
Yes, so we've actually been meeting with the waste management facility here in Waterloo, and we're also speaking with Miller Waste. So they have identified this as a problem. They haven't even begun to feel the full effects of the border closing. So as that comes in, they're looking for these types of solutions, especially organic ones. So we're still in the early stages of speaking with them in our research and development. But our first conversations with them, they're very excited to be looking at solutions where they can move their plastic waste.
So the reactor, your prototype reactor, how expensive is that to build, and how complex does it need to be?
So bioreactor as technology, it's already there, nothing really new about it. And as we know, we are still in our research phase, but we have some estimates of how expensive it could be. We got some codes. And if we're able to have a bioreactor, we just want to control temperature and the pH level. So if we want just to have a closed, regulated environment, so it could be like around 200 to 300K per each bioreactor. And it depends on the size of it, depends on each MRF that we can speak with, and we can be able to find the best estimate of this by time.
Do we have time for one more question?
Just curious about your estimate of $100 per ton is the rate that you could charge for processing these materials. How did you arrive at that particular number?
The same number is it's the municipalities now charge, or the MRFs charge the municipalities for processing their plastic waste. So we want to make our price somehow equivalent to their processing ton. So usually between 95 to 120, depends if the plastic coming from a multi-stream or like single stream.
Okay, it looks like those are all the questions our judges have. So thank you, Team Decomp. So now for the second half, we have 4 more teams left to pitch, and they will pitch in the following order. We will see Team Procario, Roga, Soul Clean, and finally Toss Textiles. So please join me in welcoming Procario.
So good evening, judges, and the whole audience. So we are Procario, and we make a betterless leather. So currently, there's a number of environmental challenges related to the production of leather, the biggest of which is the toxic chemicals involved in tanning the hides. So much of the tanning process is done in developing countries such as India and Bangladesh, where they lack the proper waste management controls to dispose of these chemicals, leading to chemicals such as chromium getting into waterways, negatively affecting aquatic life, nearby communities, and the water quality. And currently, in leather production processes, only 20% of all the raw materials involved in the production process actually ends up as usable leather product. And currently the solution is vegan leather. However, vegan leather is not a viable or sustainable solution to this problem as it's made of plastic, it contributes to the fossil fuel industry, and microplastic pollution in oceans.
So our solution is to genetically engineer bacteria to produce a leather textile that not only uses less land, water, and energy than the cattle or plastic alternatives. With the breakthrough in CRISPR-Cas9 technology, editing the genome of an organism has become accessible as well. To give an analogy of CRISPR, CRISPR is like a tool similar to Photoshop, where Photoshop you can edit photos at the pixel size. CRISPR you can do the same, but with base pairs of DNA.
Our product will be safely vegetable tanned, unlike leather. It also won't contribute to the microplastic waste that clothing industry is the leading source of. We also aren't using plant-based alternatives like cork that are currently facing challenges in total yield due to climate change. By growing bacterial cellulose, we can grow it in smaller facilities that require fewer sunk costs. We have a sample here, as shown, that we produced in under 2 weeks. Our differentiation from potential competitors will be in our genetic variation. The modification not only improves yield, growth period, and product, it will allow us to patent our modified organism too. Finally, we are, sorry.
No, sorry.
Oh, I thought you were.
No, sorry, anyways.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. Sorry. In terms of aligning this product to Hult, we know that we tackle 6 SDGs in that we're reducing chromium into the waterways, we're innovating in the leather textile industry, and we're reducing the amount of greenhouse gases. Our target customer, by 2025, the leather market is expected to grow to $629 billion, with over 20% being composed of vegan and synthetic leathers. Procario has the opportunity to create a sustainable niche within these areas. Our target customer will be current fashion designers who are trying to make sustainability the forefront of their collections. And on the competitive advantage that we are the most sustainable, they will choose us. There is also growth within automotive and furnishing industries as they rely heavily on leather. Just to add as well, next slide. Matt and Nat, fashion companies such as Matt and Nat and Stella McCartney have already paved the way in using leather alternatives within their product. And in 2018, London Fashion Week actually banned the use of all fur goods on the runway, which is signaling that this industry is moving from animal products.
Yeah, so we saw Beyond Meat have a lot of success genetically engineering a product that was traditionally made from the livestock industry. We want to follow a similar go-to-market strategy that they first implemented by targeting high-end, niche, sustainable designers that have demonstrated a need for our product. So for example, Matt and Nat, they are constantly looking for more sustainable alternative textiles to use to make their designs. We believe that they're a perfect example of a customer we can have in our first soft launch.
In terms of what we've done already, we've received continuing mentorship from Lauren Smith of Polygon Technologies, which she aims at reducing microplastics within waterways. We've also created multiple textile samples to present to you, as well as we're competing right now, as seen, in the Waterloo finals. And where we plan on going, with the help of Hult specifically, we want to enter Concept by Velocity with the mentorship of Dr. Oki Igbwele, who is a science and business professor at the University of Waterloo. We hopefully will attend Hult Prize Regionals, as well as a soft product launch within September 2020. And in terms of who we are, this is Nick. He's in biology and business, and his favorite leather product is his watch. This is Alex. He's in environment and business, and he's wearing his favorite leather shoes. And I'm Liam, and you've heard me talk too long so far, and I've put leather in my Volkswagen. And we're Procario, and this is just some takeaways. We'd love to answer any questions.
Thank you, Procario. So now we'll open it up to Q&A. Who would like to begin? Jen, go ahead.
I love this idea. My question, how did you guys have the tools to use CRISPR-Cas9? Are you guys still in undergrad?
Yeah.
Are you working with a scientist for that? That's amazing. And then also, what are the next steps for R&D to make it comparable to leather products?
So both Lee and myself have knowledge of different genetic modification processes. In terms of looking for a professor, do you want to discuss that about Weston?
So in terms of finding other professors, one of the things we really need help with from Hult specifically is finding professors outside the University of Waterloo to help us, specifically within biotextiles. I've gone to multiple professors at the University of Waterloo. They all love enzyme crystallography, which is not the field we are in. And we've been in chats with Sarah McCulthy, who is a science communicator who runs Skype a Scientist, and she's been helping us to get in talks with potential biotextile scientists.
I have a question of curiosity first, and then maybe some others, but is your product vegan?
Yes, it is, but not in the terms of vegan leather, as right now it's really common that faux leather has been rebranded as vegan leather, but it's the exact same thing that we've had over the past 30, 40 years. Our textile is made from bacteria, which is completely vegan from that perspective. It's not harming animals except microbes, I suppose, on that small scale. And the other thing is that it's not using other vegan alternatives are like cork, as we were discussing, which is a very niche tree that's only in a certain part of the world, or banana leaves. Those kinds of products cannot, like those kinds of materials cannot scale up the way that we can with our microbes.
And in terms of reaching your target of 1 million customers, I mean, you've outlined a number of markets, automotive, furniture, that sort of thing. What are you targeting first? Is it the fashion and clothing space? And how do you sort of anticipate that first 1,000, first 10,000, first 100,000 customers, where are you going to find them?
So initially, yeah, we do want to target that fashion industry, specifically footwear. That's very common nowadays, and we're going to target like designers right now that use vegan leather, because they've shown interest in using a more sustainable solution than cow hides or pig skin leather. However, we think we can provide them for a more sustainable solution. We also think we can produce it for a very competitive price. So we did a cost kind of model built on if we're producing at home versus velocity science, which we hope to get into by January 2020, or in a big industrial space. And then we can actually produce at very competitive rates. And as we outlined, like the industry is huge. So we're going to start in fashion for 6 months, be prototyping, have our initial product that we're going to go on, and by August 2020, we want to actually start our soft launch straight to these fashion industries.
Very cool idea. Could you talk a little bit about the potential competitors in this space and how you see your product being differentiated?
So I think in terms of this space, there is a startup company out of New Jersey that's currently engineering yeast with collagen. The primary difference between us is that we're using cellulose. And with the yeast process, what they're aiming at doing is essentially having a biomanufacturing facility of yeast producing collagen fibers. We don't see that as efficient, whereas we're actually taking the bacterial mat with the cellulose strands that are remaining intact. And that's where we see our competitive advantage. As well, in terms of actual technology and genetic engineering of the bacteria, we're using CRISPR instead of knockout technology such as talons, as they reduce the cost threefold within the coming years.
That's all the time we have for Q&A for Prokaryo. Thank you, and thanks for your flexibility earlier. Thank you.
Thank you for experiencing this.
All right. We want you to imagine you're shopping for a sweater online, and you come across 2 options you really like. They're similar in style, color, quality. However, the second option is much more sustainable. Which one do you buy? If you're like us and chose a sustainable alternative, then you're among 65% of North American consumers who too would choose the sustainable option. However, only 1/4 of us are making that purchase. Consumer willingness to shop sustainably is not translating to consumer behavior. At Broga, we call this the consumer intention action gap, and this gap exists because of 2 things: the availability and the affordability of sustainable options. We need to make it easier for people to go forward with their intended purchase.
Currently, the 3 pillars of apparel sustainability are fragmented. Consumers don't know what companies are developing sustainable apparel, and these companies don't have access to alternative suppliers and materials they need to source from. We are creating a platform that is the sustainable product standard. It bridges the intention-action gap of consumers and enterprises who strive to be sustainable. Consumers come to Roga to find sustainable brands, and companies use Roga to help them develop more sustainable products and later access our loyal user base.
This is Rachel. She falls into the 65% of well-intentioned consumers, but she's unaware of the alternative apparel options and how sustainable they are. Rachel trusts Roga because we provide her with thousands of certified sustainable products. Our platform has a detailed sustainability score showing key information like how much water was used in production. These metrics are important because it encourages over 60% of people to make the purchase, helping to close the sustainability intention-action gap. Now let's take a look at enterprises who don't yet meet our sustainability standard, such as Goodwear. We provide small to medium-sized businesses a supply chain management and sustainability analysis tool during product development. We calculate a sustainability analysis score by analyzing materials, manufacturing location, and process. We then suggest design changes and help recommend and connect these businesses to alternative sustainable suppliers, and this will help businesses adopt more sustainable practices.
We'll have multiple revenue streams. First off, for enterprises, we have a tiered revenue platform that allows people with smaller revenues to get into our platform. We also have affiliate marketing to partner with sustainable brands, and consumer membership for people that are looking for sustainable items so they can return their items to us so we can replace them or get rid of them sustainably. We have multiple partners that fall under 3 branches. First of all, websites like Done Good, who host sustainable items, sustainability assessment tools like the Higg Index, and sustainability metrics and scoring like Ethical Loo. At Roga, we're all 3 and more in a holistic platform.
So why is now the time for Roga? The apparel industry accounts for 1.2 billion tons of carbon emissions annually, and 40% of the industry is dominated by online sales. If Roga captures 10% of this market, we can help reduce carbon emissions by 48 million tons annually, the equivalent of 10.5 million cars off the road. 9 in 10 Gen Z consumers believe that companies should have sustainable options. The opportunity to close the intention-action gap has never been bigger. Now is the time.
Our go-to-market strategy is an easy-to-add consumer online web extension. So when you're shopping online, we recommend sustainable brands as well as options relative to the things that you're looking for. This is necessary as we laid the foundation for our customer acquisition. In relation to Hult, we plan on reaching 1 million consumers in 10 years directly through this platform, but indirectly through the businesses that we transform. We really want to empower sustainable, responsible consumption and production. We're more than just one single player in this space because we provide a value across the entire supply chain.
Our team is uniquely composed of 2 system design thinkers, a financial analyst with experience in impact investing, and a data-driven software developer. And we believe we are uniquely positioned to understand the complex dynamics of sustainable business, and we are committed to pushing forward our transformative model.
In the next 6 months, we will develop our solution for the apparel industry by partnering with local brands such as Avocado Co-op. Hult would provide the necessary capital to build our supply chain management tool and expand beyond apparel industry in the next year. Changing consumer behavior to close the intention-action gap is a big endeavor, but if we want a real transformative model, we must first increase the availability of sustainable products. Secondly, we must improve the knowledge of products through key metrics for both consumers and enterprises. And finally, we must drive down the cost of sustainable product development.
We're Roga. Help us close the intention-action gap.
Thank you, Team Roga. Q&A, judges, who would like to begin? Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
So I certainly get the, I guess not reluctance, but challenge of getting consumers to act sustainably. I see that in my business. I see that, like, scaling to 1 million, I see requiring a lot of vendors and a lot of customers. So it's a model where it only works once it's big. So how do you fund getting there?
How do we fund getting there? So I guess initially we have the demand side and we have the supply side. And the supply side is our sustainable existing enterprises who we would partner with through an affiliate marketing model. And that value proposition to prove to them isn't as difficult because they are looking for high quality marketing channels, and we will provide that for them, a high quality marketing channel through a good platform. I think where we foresee challenge is on the demand side, which is how do we get customers to download our web extension, right? Or how do we get customers on board? It's the chicken and egg problem. But with we hope to create some sort of word of mouth virality around it. And because climate change is an urgency right now, you see all these climate strikes. Perhaps we start there. And then with funding, we'd hope to move on to more a paid advertising mechanism, whether that's through ads. And I think this is the portion where we are open to feedback, and we have advisors that we'd like to seek that from. And partnering with Hult is an additional foot forward, a foot in the door that'll get our names out there and help us to partner.
How would you account for some of the challenges with certifying green? It's just a really complex thing to certify, and most certifiers are fraught with gaps. So how would you develop sound metrics for sustainability? Do you have advisors on your team to help you out? And then how would you ensure accountability with the brands that you're working with?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're not really certifying products. Rather, we're having vetted products live on our platform and then providing the outlet for consumers. And so the HIG index is really good, which will be released, I believe, next year. They go through detailing everything of a product, like the materials, where it came from. We want to use that, leverage that same existing infrastructure, and then have that a part of our platform as well. To keep brands accountable, I think this is where we're trying to transform, rather than sustainability being a marketing tool, we want to ingrain it into the very beginning aspect of product development. We don't want recyclability to come at the very end when we're just trying to dispose of the product. We're trying to bring that all the way to the beginning. So when a designer thinks of a design, they'll also think about where it's being sourced and how it's going to be made and with which materials. That's what we're trying to really ingrain.
I wanted to look a little bit at the question of competition. I realized you sort of identified competitors and then crossed it out to say those are potential partners, which I think is a great way to approach it, but it sort of raises a couple of questions. When you look at established players in the market, whether it's the HIG index coming out next year, which could then presumably be displayed on existing sites like Amazon, or whether it's done good as a sort of a player already in the space, how do you as a startup suggest that you've got a value proposition that's going to make them sort of abandon those existing directions and plans to embrace your platform?
Yeah, so I think where our key value proposition comes in is one, the stakeholder collaboration, and that is partnership in the goals, which is the last SDGs, SDG number 17. But more than that, it's on the supply chain management side, which is us, giving enterprises, and specifically small to medium-sized enterprises, a tool to connect them with alternative suppliers and people who will provide them alternative materials. These companies aren't doing that, they're fragmented, like we said. They're doing 3 different things, but how do we bring that together onto a platform that has extra value add?
That's all the time. Sorry to cut you off. That's all the time we have for Q&A. Thank you to Team Roga and to our judges.
So, hello, we're So Clean, and we're excited today to talk to you about our solar panel cleaning system. First, we'd like to introduce you to our team. We're 4 fourth-year mechanical engineering students who are working together on our fourth-year design project, which is the basis for the system we're going to present to you today.
So in addition to the 4 of us, we have a board of advisors. So we have Professor Mike Collins, who's highly experienced in the solar research area. We have Ashwin, the chief catalyst of the Brampton Catalyst program. We have Connor, who is one of the co-founders of a startup called Just Vertical. And we also have Peter from the cooperative development manager at the Ontario Cooperative Association.
So this is an overview of what we plan on presenting today. Let's start off with the problem statement. So when no sun reaches a solar panel, no power is actually generated. For example, if you take a look at the panels on this image, even on a sunny day, if the panels are covered with a thin layer of snow, no power is actually generated as shown by the meters.
So that brings us to our goal. We're looking to look at roof-mounted solar panel installations, as these are difficult and dangerous to clean manually. We're also looking mostly at fixed tilt frame mounted systems, as this is the most widely used and provides adequate mounting positions for our system. We're also looking at systems mounted to 60 degrees, as this is standard for roofs. So our goal for the system is to create a machine that can clean a solar panel to overall increase the efficiency by removing obstructions such as snow, dust, and other debris. We want the system to be compatible to a variety of solar panel installations and to be affordable and accessible to a variety of clients. The graph shown here is the global capacity of solar photovoltaics installed. As you can see, the trend has been increasing and is projected to continue doing so, showing that this is a growing market. These are some other companies that have made solar panel cleaning systems, but all of them focus exclusively on cleaning one type of obstruction and are sold exclusively to large corporate solar installations, not to residential systems. These are some of the systems we have started designing. We're considering both brush cleaning and cleaning with compressed air.
So in addition to some of our conceptual designs, we also have some proof of testing that we've done. So this shows using air to clean solar panels to show that this is a viable option. Obviously, this will not be our final solution, but it's what we're planning on incorporating into our design to actually clean solar panels mounted on the roof. So this is our preliminary financial projections. We're targeting for our unit to be $500 per unit, and we're targeting for the production cost to be around $250 per unit. We're also targeting for the company to be profitable within 3 years. So this is, again, the same location as shown before, with minimal snow coverage or no snow coverage on a winter day. So this was taken 2 weeks ago, and basically this shows that on an uncovered day, it can generate around $3 of energy. And so this helps us to justify our 3-year payback period for the consumer. So each day estimated to generate $3 of energy equals to around $180 a year for the homeowner.
So who can we reach? The microfit program that Ontario had previously reached 120,000 users. If you project this across Canada and then take into consideration the projection of the solar market growth, then we can reach that 1 million consumer mark that we plan on reaching. So what other impacts can we have? The other impacts that we plan to have is that as we're increasing the solar panel efficiencies, we're going to have a higher return on investment for the owners, which means that more owners will be incentivized to actually buy our product and solar panels. We also want to contribute 15% of our profits to developing countries so that they can develop their renewable energy resources. So take, for example, this map. All of the countries that get the most solar energy are around the equator, which are also the ones that are currently developing the renewable energy resources.
So our business model currently, we are modeling ourselves as a product development company. So once we develop our product, we will get in touch with manufacturers to manufacture the product, and then we can uniquely position ourselves as a before and after market. So we can communicate with retailers and installers to install this while they're installing the system, as well as to homeowners who already have solar panels installed. And so in short, we're trying to target a business to consumer business model.
So this is our general timeline. In 6 months, we want the research and development phase to be completed. In 12 months, the prototyping and testing phase. And in 18 months, the manufacturing process should be completed for $250. So who are we trying to market? After we develop our product, we want to collaborate with solar panel installers, as mentioned by Rebecca. We also want to go to solar panel trade fairs and also work with our network of advisors to hopefully market our product.
And so lastly, just to conclude, these are the SDGs we're targeting, and this will help align our goals with the Hult Prize goals. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Team Soul Clean. Judges, Q&A. Go ahead, Jen.
Great presentation. One concern I have is usually when you work with a distributor or store, they expect to double the price. And so if your units are $250 and the stores are selling them because they'll expect to take a profit, I'm just kind of unsure of how you guys will reach a profit yourselves. Yeah.
So it's definitely something that we still need to communicate with actual solar panel installers. We have been able to, like, for talking with our mentors and just researching, we have found that this is an issue, and as we mentioned, there are competitors to do the same thing for commercial systems. So, and there are a lot of solar panels that have been installed and are continuing to be installed, both in Ontario alone and also throughout Canada and worldwide.
Yeah, sorry, just to add, I don't know if I was super clear. So if all of your costs are in that $250 and then the stores are selling them at $500, so they're taking all of your profit. So how do you account for that?
I think it's a number we would have to work out more when we had manufacturing and retailers set up, and maybe the price would have to be slightly higher, but 3-year payback period would still definitely be possible at a higher price point.
I might jump in on a similar kind of a question then. You talked about the $500 price point. When I looked at your very sophisticated test to show how the technology worked, I mean, it struck me that, you know, in a sense we've got a kind of a snowblower or a reverse dust buster or something like this that we're kind of using in these cases. Seems to me those could be manufactured for a lot less than $250. So how did you arrive at the $250 figure? And is there an opportunity there to fairly dramatically decrease those costs as you sort of explore the manufacturing side a little more?
Right, so the number that we currently have is more on the conservative side, just because we haven't finalized any of our materials yet and what exactly the mechanism is. But the reason why it's that high is because we're also planning on making it automated so that no one has to actually climb up on the roof, as that's a safety issue, and that's what people currently do to clean solar panels, is they either have someone to clean it or they just leave it. So we're planning on actually having a kind of user interface that kind of informs them of what's going on with the solar panels, and also it will be able to detect when it needs to clean on its own.
Just to build off on that, what do you, you mentioned there's a lot of competition in this space already. What do you foresee as the key value proposition that would differentiate your product? And how do you see yourself selling that to the target customers? Especially, you mentioned targeting residential owners and making the product affordable. So how do you balance the two?
So if you take a look at what's actually out on the market right now, most of our competitors are working on the commercial side. They don't actually cater to the residential panel owners. So right now, due to the fact that more homeowners are actually going towards renewable energy resources, we predict that they will eventually want to actually be able to profit off of it. And right now, there is also a program in Ontario that incentivizes people to actually go for renewable energy resources, because they can subsidize their hydro bill with it.
Oh, one quick question, but I'll try not to cut you off on that. Go ahead.
Could you clarify getting to 1 million customers a little bit better?
Okay, so if you still remember what our projection chart looked like, Ontario had 120,000 users. That was for the microfit program. As the microfit program grew, though, we projected that more people would actually be buying it, but that's also just for Ontario alone. So besides Ontario, another major consumer would also be Alberta and also BC, because they also have the potential for all of these. And outside of Canada, we also know that the United States is a major consumer. So first, we're starting off with Canada, and then we're going to project to the worldwide stage.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for Q&A for Soul Clean. Thank you.
The fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world.
It contributes to 67 million tons of landfill waste worldwide.
Every year, $2.4 billion is spent on exporting textiles around the world.
But it doesn't have to be that way. We're Toss Textiles, and we're here to fix this. So let us introduce ourselves. My name is Julia, and I can business.
My name is Jen, and I can design.
My name is Jane and I can engineer.
And my name's Greg, and I can computer. And we went shopping together.
So together we went on a little field trip to Conestoga Mall and interviewed more than 20 store managers to learn about their problems. And to be radically transparent, one of the store managers actually told us that they actually throw out all of their defective items into the trash. And in addition, out of the 180 items that were carried from the previous season, only 10 were actually sold. Now, it doesn't stop there, because now we have to understand our users. Based off of our online research and the survey that we sent out, what we found was that time and drop-off locations were the main barriers to entry.
Which made us wonder about 3 questions. The first one, could we make it so easy for the consumer to drop off their clothes that they just would? The second, could we tell companies what they don't know? Like what happens to their clothes after it leaves the store? And third, could we make Canada a first mover in creating a post-consumer waste textile business? And it all starts with the toss tag. This is our toss tag that we have created, and it's comprised of 3 different components. At the top, you see the recycling instructions for the wearer to determine how to recycle and drop off their clothing. Then you have the barcode, and this is for data analytics for the companies to determine further usability and insight on their consumers. And lastly, there's a color at the end of the tag for our sorting facilities in Canada. These will be collected at our toss bag. Now, these will be placed in strategic locations around urban cities to capitalize on consumer behavior habit and also to integrate it within their time spent shopping, which will then be brought to our sorting facilities, where distribution will happen in 3 ways. The first one is that we'll be reselling the clothing to thrift stores. The second one is that we'll be reusing the clothing, specifically by donating them to women's shelters and other shelters around the city. And the third one is that we'll be providing our recycled material as rags and such to industries that can use them for further use.
We've already established how our business is sustainable for the environment, but now how is our solution sustainable for our business? Our primary revenue stream will be through data analytics. We'll be licensing enterprise resource planning software that will provide sustainability and consumer insights. But now how are we going to collect that data? This is where the TOS tag comes into play. Each tag has a barcode that contains unique ID that will allow it to track every single piece of clothing. Throughout the clothing lifecycle, we've identified 6 main touch points where we can collect data from. What makes us unique from other analytic companies is that we're able to track that clothing after it leaves the store. But now the challenge is getting that tag onto the clothing. So we've discovered that retailers send a tech pack to manufacturers that contains specification sheets. Designers will be easily able to adopt our solution, as we will just add another specification sheet to the already established system. And in turn, we'll provide them analytics on consumers, sales, and operations, providing them an opportunity for cost savings. And we'll be the first ones to bring this to Canada.
Additionally, the TOS textile system is designed around the needs and wants of the consumer. First, we'll make location drop-off centers easy for them to access, and all of the information will be available for them online. We also will align with their eco-friendly values and make partnerships with brands that they already know and love to create a loyalty incentive. Additionally, we know that our business model is viable because there's similar situations happening with clothing collection in Europe. Over there, they have clothing collection happening, and we want to be some of the first people to bring this to North America, where it has not yet been fully embraced. Additionally, our business is highly sustainable, aligning both directly and indirectly with many of the UN sustainable goals. These will also be an inspiration for our core values as a business. For example, we'll hire marginalized individuals at our sorting centers, and our entire process will limit the amount of planetary resources needed in the fashion industry.
If we were to win the $1 million, we would break it up into 4 different parts. The first would be going towards technology development, specifically our software. Then we'd be going towards community involvement, which is encompassing higher employees and also establishing those trusted brand partnerships. And the third one would be going toward the infrastructure required for sorting and collection facilities. And lastly, just a general business operations. Ultimately, though, we want to extend the life cycle of clothing. We want to inform consumers and companies about the further opportunities that they have with their clothing. This year, Hult challenged us with changing an entire system, and that's what we did. And it all starts with a TOS tag. Thank you.
Thank you, TOS Textiles. Okay, judges, it is now your chance to ask some questions. Who would like to begin?
I Great presentation. Could you speak a little bit more about the specific data that you're planning to collect through the TOS tag?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so here is the strategy that we want to go out for, like coming to market. So we also have, so within the clothing kind of manufacturing and selling and then distribution area, we want to implement our tag with the barcode that you scan at the store so that they can maximize their sales that are coming from the store. So companies will, and like retailers will often exchange the clothing between different stores, between which one's selling it best. So we'll provide that kind of data specifically towards the store retailer. But then when it gets interesting is actually in the sustainability side. So how long something stays into their closet is important for companies to know. Was it damaged? Was it just returned because it wasn't liked? How many of them are ending up in garbage? Why are they ending up in the garbage or a recycling bag? And also in what quality are they in, as I spoke to before. Understanding this can not only let them produce more sustainable garments, but it also can let them know about what trends are coming back into style based on the reselling that we are doing to thrift shops and the opportunity for a profit there as well. Understanding all this information will only make them a more powerful company, and understanding what happens after it leaves the store will give them an advantage in the marketplace. Thank you.
Right, and just to add on to that, we're also going to collect data on the type of material used. For example, if it's a blend of cotton or polyester. Now, if you think about it, cotton is a very water-intensive plant, so in order to produce one pair of street jeans, the actual water consumption is 7,600 liters. And if over time we can actually optimize the amount of, for example, cotton materials to use in a regular textile, we can definitely not only to provide beneficiary in terms of to enhance the company's bottom line with their, for example, water consumption, but at the same time also lower the social impacts on water consumption, which ties to one of the UN goals.
We'd love to continue to grow our business, so any insight you guys have.
Have you thought about other markets for your data?
Like other places we could place our kind of data tracking?
Yeah, or other buyers who might be interested in accessing the data you're collecting.
Do you want me to take it? Are you good? Yeah, we have. Essentially, we have. So is a huge potential for ad revenue as well, and for ad agencies to have access to this data, as they'll better target their brands within the target demographic that we're located in. So they are definitely a potential customer, as well as we're working specifically with designers, which is what we kind of created this product for. But there's other manufacturers of car companies and other textiles that way that could also have significant impact on their data as well.
Also, just our preliminary research was mainly around clothing collection, but expanding into things like shoes and other garments like that.
Right, and just to add on to that, at the same time, because we have a tagging system in place, it increases traceability and transparency. So if I have a garment that I can track throughout the entire supply chain system, it also gives us, it's also beneficial to optimize the entire supply chain management system.
Sounds like we're good for questions. Okay, thank you to our last but not least team, TOS Textiles.
Thank you.
So before the judges announce tonight's winners, we want to invite Mark Weber up to the front, the director of the Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business, and he's a big supporter of the Hult Initiative, and he's going to come up and say a few words.
For those of you who, like me, are eager to know the results, I will try to keep this pretty brief. So finalists, would you all wave at me for just a second? Okay, they're the finalists, wow. You know, if I had to find myself on a deteriorating and sinking ship on unpredictable seas, I would hope that on that boat with me was a group of youthful in age or outlook, smart, resourceful people with purpose and optimism. Finalists, I would want you on that boat with me as you're on this boat with us. Thank you very much. So I am the director of the Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business, and I have to tell you, every year I look forward to this night. This night is one of the most amazing symbols of the very best of the things that we do, both at Conrad, but at the University of Waterloo, broadly defined. I love this night so much that every year I bring my youngest child, my daughter Rachel, with me to this event. She's 13 years old this year. She was 12 last year when she came. I bring my 13-year-old daughter here because I want her to see that in this world there is reason to be hopeful. I want her to see the promise that is possible through business. And I want her to see just how impressive she can be if she emulates all of you. So this is a wonderful evening as far as I'm concerned. I want to just take a moment to acknowledge some of the people who make this possible. I know we've done a little bit of this already, but from my vantage point, I just need to reinforce this again. First of all, I would like us all to acknowledge again the finalists for giving us hope in the future. Thank you. I want to acknowledge all the incredible work that has been put in by so many people to make this event, to make Hult possible. I want to acknowledge the volunteers. I want to acknowledge the Marcom team. I want to acknowledge the faculty who put in time and coached and judged. I want to acknowledge the judges. I want to acknowledge everybody that I have forgotten to identify. This event only is possible because so many people believe that it's worthwhile and invest themselves in it, and the participants are not the only ones with that belief. So please join me in thanking all of those people. Of course, I want to thank the judges, and I think we should applaud for them before they tell you the results. Thank you. And of course, I think we all owe a special round of thanks to Kellyanne, who has been, by all accounts, an absolute rock star in the coordination of these events. I want to take a brief moment to say that none of this would be conceivable were it not for one of the absolute rock stars of the Conrad School or any school, which would be Ms. Rupa Reddy. You know, I teach organizational behavior and leadership, and in the world that I work in, you can read in textbooks all the time about how people are at their very best when they're able to bring their very best gifts to tasks that are deeply meaningful to them. One of the reasons why Hult goes so well is because it is so clearly an expression of Rupa at her very best. Thank you again, Rupa. So I have two more things to say. One, to be young and idealistic is eternal. There has never been a generation of human beings that wasn't young and idealistic, and often a little bit angry. To be Hult Prize finalists, on the other hand, is to be young and idealistic and capable of actually doing something about it. Understand markets and problems, craft workable solutions and enterprises, resourcefully build relationships and partnerships. If the world is going to be saved, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be saved by people like you. And now, the last thing. Take as many Conrad courses as you possibly can, because the very best expression of what we do is helping you do the very best things you can do. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to invite the judges up to announce the top 3 teams. So please welcome all of them back up here.
Just to add to what Kellyanne said, I'll just describe what's going to happen now. So in terms of the judges' announcements, they will announce our 3rd place team first, and then our 2nd place team, and then our 1st place team, and then I will ask you in between the announcements of each, sort of after the 3rd place team, please come up here and have your picture taken with our judges and our special guests who are here from ECL. And Mark, if you would like to join, that would be great, and we'll take sort of a picture in between each announcement just to keep the suspense going for a little longer. And then at the very end of the top 3 teams being announced, I ask that you all take a seat. I ask you to sit for just a couple more minutes so I can do a final kind of message for our students and final vote of thanks. So I will now hand it over to our judges. Thank you.
So in third place, we have, and drum roll please, She Cycle. We really appreciated the amount of impact that the product has the potential to make, so congratulations.
And for second place, can I get a drum roll as well? Procario. I was absolutely so impressed with the innovation that you guys are doing in undergrad. I just can't believe that. So congratulations, Procario.
So we're going to wait for everyone to sit down. So a big congratulations to our first prize winners tonight, DCOM. So in a world where I think human behavior is going to be slow to change, we really think you guys have a concept that has a potential for big impact.
First of all, another big round of applause to all of our finalist teams and our amazing judges tonight. Okay, so first of all, thank you to everyone who is here to witness tonight's finals, for your attention and energy tonight. In the judges' deliberation, one of the comments was how energizing it is just to be around so many amazing teams with great ideas. It's not an easy role that judges play. It's definitely not an easy role that you all took on in pitching tonight. So thank you for your attention and energy, and to our audience of supporters, faculty, staff, family members, it's great to have you here. So I just wanted to do a quick thanks. Mark has already kind of touched on a lot of this, and so I'll be as brief as possible. But there are a range of profs, mentors from industry and on campus, and our judges from semis and tonight's finals that I think we owe another kind of big acknowledgement to. The opportunities that students have here at the University of Waterloo to truly go beyond ideas are incredible, and every year I'm more and more amazed by those opportunities, and it's thanks to collective collaborations like these, the fruition of which you saw one example tonight, and your individual engagement, that this is possible. So this time, let's please join me in giving a round of applause to all our supporters and our judges, who Kellyanna will. Thank you. As she does that, I'll continue. To our sponsors tonight, again, the Eaton Directorship under the strong and consistent support of Mark Weber, and to ECL's Peter Allen and the representatives from ECL here tonight. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. To my colleagues here at Conrad, including our faculty members, marketing team, and admin staff, thank you for the support and space to help continue building our unique offering in social entrepreneurship. Having you, many of you present here tonight and at all of our events, and as mentors and helping to take care of all the important details is very much appreciated, so thank you. To our AV support at our events, who also are a valuable part of this, thank you very much for being here and for helping us out. Okay, to our student volunteers, and this year I have to give them a special shout out because every time I'd see their faces, it was like a burst of fun and enthusiasm. They have helped in the background with humor, with just a level of a professionalism, but a lot of fun. You've been such a great addition to our team, and I really hope you stay connected. So Simon, Hannah, Vachana, Darren, Senate, and Istra, thank you very much for your volunteerism throughout the events. Please give them a round of applause. And can you please come up quickly to accept gifts from Kellyanna? Finally, although she'll be distracted as I do this mini speech, Kellyanna Giesinger, who's our campus director, we already gave her a round of applause thanks to Mark, but she is one of a kind in terms of her ability to envision and follow through on impactful events, and it's been incredible for me to witness and to work with Kellyanna. Okay, I'm gonna wait so she can actually hear this because She's the only one who really needs to hear this. Okay, so I'm going to just start from this part. When I first met Kiliana, or Kay as I now call her, in July, it took less than 24 hours, maybe 6 hours for her to jump on board and literally and figuratively start running with all of the prep that goes behind our events, and that started in July. The social media posts and networking across campus and community, the design of the events many of you have been part of. Those of you who came to our speed mentoring night, I was amazed by the conversations all of you managed to have, and that was facilitated thanks to your leadership. So thank you very much, Kiliana. You don't see this level of depth in the events yet, but Kiliana has a deep interest in social impact and in helping young people access the information and opportunities that are out there, and to do so in an inclusive and accessible way, and I very much value that because it's a rare quality. You have reminded me of how important it is to move way beyond any level of recognition, because sometimes we get into like, how many people will come to the event, right? Like, how many people have liked this post? And Kaliana has reminded me that it's so much more than that. It's about a deeper sense of purpose, of what we're here to do. So thank you very much for raising the bar higher than I honestly realized was possible. You've been amazing, so please join me in a round of applause for Kaliana. She wants to sit down now, that's fine. Okay, so lastly, to all of our student teams that are here tonight and those who are here in support of the student teams, I'm constantly amazed by you and very grateful that you allow people like me into your process of learning and growth. This term, I witnessed as many of you managed to find a spark, whether it was in that Hult Challenge booklet or before that or after that. You found a spark somehow, individually and collectively as teams, and you put your hard work, dedication, and enthusiasm into turning that spark into a flame, and I think we saw a lot of that tonight. I've learned that your generation is unstoppable once you set your mind on something, and that your momentum is truly contagious. So the future you each are designing and building, I really believe is bright in a culture and a world that sometimes will try and dim that light or cause you to question your sense of purpose, your worth, and contributions to the society that you are a part of. So more than anything, I wanted to emphasize that tonight is meant to be a celebration of all the learning, of definitely the 8 finalist teams who were fantastic tonight, but also all the teams that engage with the competition, those 35 teams that Kaliana referenced before. I hope you, first of all, recognize your exceptional talents and your level of privilege in a good way, in terms of, and second of all, take that in and understand that you do have impact. The choices that you make do matter in terms of your career, what you choose to focus on, and I'm so inspired by all of you. And you will continue to learn and grow as long as you are open to that growth. So don't let anybody dim that light of yours. We saw today how fantastic each of you are. I encourage you to stay humble, make room at the table for people who should be there at that table with you, because you have the ability to do that. And keep listening to others across ages and stages of life. One of the things I love is seeing kind of these interdisciplinary, intergenerational collaborations, and it's what keeps me going in my work, and I hope that you are able to tap into that too. That's all I have to say. Thank you all so much for your time, attention, and participation. Thank you. Please get home safely. Stay tuned for updates on social media on all of our teams' journeys, because it's continuing not just for our top 3 teams, but all of them. And please take a veggie wrap on your way out. Thank you.